Carlos, it seems that the Nicaragua government has surpassed Cuba and Venezuela, which is going on with repression against the press for over 20 years. What's happening right now there with the few independent journalists? And I invite you to take your mask down so people can understand.
Yeah, thank you, Dagmar. Yes, since the Venezuelan regime has lasted 21 years to this day, it's a very complex situation. But as I told you, all my fellows in this table, in this set today, it's the same playbook. The resemblances are scary, absolutely scary. So I would like to start stressing that Nicolas Maduro's regime has undertaken the systematic dismantling of the freedom of press in Venezuela as part of his efforts to deepen his dictatorial rule. This includes the prosecution of journalists taking advantage of a submissive justice system tailored specifically for this. At the moment, there are 13 journalists imprisoned or under probation in our country. And please let me mention, to set an example, just 4 of them. Let's start with Roland Carreño, who is at the extreme right for you of these photos. He has just completed 10 months in prison on Thursday, August 26th. Carreño is charged with the alleged crimes of conspiracy, criminal association, financing terrorism, and possession of weapons of war. A court admitted the charges during hearing on July 9th. Carreño has diabetes, suffers from blood pressure, prostate, and labyrinthitis, and he has been denied of medical attention. So far, the court hearing his case denied all the precautionary measures requested by his defense, including house arrest. Eduardo Galindo, our second case to be mentioned today. On April 15, 2020, a group of agents of Venezuelan National Guard arrested him to be interrogated regarding a report published by Senderos de Apure, the news website he edits. Galindo's detention was related to his reporting on fuel shortages in the region. He is on probation under a filing regime every 15 days. He has had a trial open for a year, accused of allegedly publishing false information and resisting authority. Third case, Luis Carlos Diaz, a journalist and activist well known throughout Venezuela and the global human rights community. Maduro's second-in-command, Diosdado Cabello, falsely accused Diaz of participating in a right-wing conspiracy to cause the current electrical outages across the country in 2020. Diaz was charged with instigating crimes and released on the condition that he would report to intelligence officials every week. He is also prohibited from leaving the country or speaking publicly about his detention. Jesus Medina, a photojournalist that was arrested in 2017 with journalists from Switzerland when they were doing a report on a prison in Venezuela. He was imprisoned again in 2018 for a report on the hospital crisis in the country. They released him in 2020 with precautionary measures, regime of presentation to the authorities, and prohibition of leaving Caracas. He cannot speak about his case. He was charged with alleged finance crimes and incitement to hatred. We want to highlight here today that the U.S. government has imposed sanctions against those who have led Venezuela to an economic downfall, causing an unprecedented humanitarian crisis by incurring in serious acts of corruption. That is why we are advocating in favor of including in the U.S. sanctions imposed on the regime those officials and institutions that, throughout their actions and decisions, are silencing the news media outlets, thus violating the right of Venezuelans to be informed. This petition was elevated to Madam House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, among other relevant personalities, and we will continue advocating on this. Finally, we join our voice to claim the total and unconditional freedom of all the prosecuted and imprisoned journalists in Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Journalism is not a crime. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos Roa from APEVEX, the Association of Journalists, Venezuelan Journalists Abroad.